Hi everyone, this is Amanda and we're going to get started painting our hydrangeas in a pretty metallic vase. I've got my setup here. This is an 11 by 14 canvas and it's one of the thicker canvases. And the paint that you're going to need is a blue. I'm going to use several different colors of blue to make my hydrangeas. And you can use whatever colors you would like. I've got the colors that I'm using listed and you can purchase them there. I think I need to turn my music down a little bit. Hang on just a sec. Let's see. Okay. I've got my palette knives. I've got a large one with a rounded tip, a smaller one with a rounded tip. This one is the one that I use most often and it is pretty dirty right now. This one has a pointed tip. And I'm also going to use a old chip brush or just a big large brush to put my background color on, and a smaller brush that will chisel to a good point on the end. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, I normally draw out what I think I want my basic shapes to be, and my background on this one's going to be black and my flowers are going to be blue, and I'm going to try this metallic silver for the first time on a painting and see how it works for my vase that I'm going to do. So since everything is in the background is going to be a dark color, I'm probably going to use a bright color to trace out and draw out or sketch out what I want my flowers and my vase to look like. And I'm going to use a red, which is a strange choice, I know, but it's going to be something that will stand out. So I'm going to take this brush and I'm just going to start with the top of my vase. I think it's going to be about right there. And this one's going to be somewhat of a triangular shaped type vase. So this is just a rough idea. Okay, so there's the vase. And I actually found several different pictures on Pinterest of hydrangeas that I'm going to use for my inspiration. And all hydrangea flowers are round in shape. So what I'm going to do is, well, first I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. I'm going to just make a circle where I think one bunch is going to be. So let's say I'm going to have one bunch here. Then there'll be one kind of behind it back here. Then there'll be one that sticks up here. And I'll have one large one in the front that's going to come down over the edge of my vase here. And I'm also going to have one coming out over here. Okay, and then when I actually paint this with the colors that it's going to be, it may be a little bit bigger or smaller. And here I'm going to have some leaves, just a couple of leaves, just like that. Okay, so that's the beginning here. that's the sketch that I'm going to start with, and I'll give you a few minutes to catch up and get yours sketched out too. Okay, now that we've got our outline here, I'm going to start putting in some of the black background. And I'm going to use my brush to get the big spaces, and then I'll come back and use my knife around the edges. While I'm doing this background, I'm going to go ahead and do the edges of my canvas too. So I'll just turn it over like this. Okay, one more side. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit on the palette knife that has the sharp pointed edge, and I'm going to go into these areas right here. It's just quicker and easier for me. If you want to use a small brush and go around the edges, you can do that. These are not going to be exact edges anyway once we're done, because my flowers are going to come out from these edges a little bit more than this. They're not going to be exact circles. Okay, so we got our background and our sides done, and next we will get started on the container here, the vase. I'm going to try out this. It's called Silver Sterling Metallic. Let's see how it works. I may mix a little bit of white with it. I don't want it to be just one boring color. If I can get it to come out. wipe off my palette knife, and I'm just going to lightly mix it around like this. Ooh, that looks really good. I like that. You don't have to use metallic if you don't have it, or if you can't find it. You could just use a gray. And just making long strokes. Let me get a little bit more of the gray on there and pull that down. Okay. I may leave a little bit of this red showing in some spots. Around the edges of the things that I paint, I usually have a little bit of a color that peeks out that's completely different from the color of the subject. Okay. So, got the basic color of our vase done. And I'll pause for a minute and let you get caught up. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do these leaves. If you've noticed, we've worked from the back forward. So we want to do the background first. Then the next layer underneath would be the vase. Then on top of that, it's going to be these leaves here. And then on top of that, in the forefront, we want the flowers to be. So I'm going to take a little bit of green, and I'm going to use a few different shades of green and mix them together with some white. With my palette knife with the point again, I'm going to just take some of this white that we had here in the area with our silver. I'm just going to mix those together slightly, just make it look sort of marbled, and then I'm going to come and put in the shape of this leaf here. Okay, I got a little bit of black on my palette knife, but that's okay. We'll just smooth it out here. This leaf in the back needs to be a little darker anyway, and the one in the front, I'll add some extra white to. Lighten that edge up there. Okay, so you can still see a little bit of that red peeking out, which I really like. Okay, so next we're going to work on our flowers. And just like everything else, we worked from the back toward the front, and a lot of times it's going to be working from dark toward light. So, we're going to get our blues out. This is a very dark blue, phthalo blue. This one is a brilliant blue, which is more of a almost a turquoise color. And I've also got this one, which I'm not 100% sure that I want to use. So I'm going to put it over here in this area and see what I think about it later. I'm also going to try a little bit of purple and see what it does. Okay. So we're going to start with our darkest color in the background. And I'm going to go with this purple right here. And I'm just going to go around the edge of these, the outside edge. And like we said, hydrangeas are basically the shape of a ball. So we need to keep it as round as possible, but we're going to put in some petals too. Okay, so got a really dark purple going here. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is take this dark blue here and go in these areas. And put it on pretty thickly because you're going to want it to still be wet when you come back with some white on top. Got a little bit of blue on there. Okay, so we've got some dark blue, and now we're going to go back. I'm going to use, I've already been using it, but I didn't tell you, this rounded tip, and we're going to take some of the white, just stick it over here with this blue. And I'm going to take a little bit of this turquoisey bright blue, and then I'm just going to start putting some of this here like this, and it's going to be random, and you're just going to keep picking up a little bit of each color and make little spots. I started here to give you an idea of what I'm doing, but I'm going to go back and do these back areas first because they need to be a little bit darker and a little bit covered up by the ones in the front. Just try to keep the basic shape of your round red circles there. And your background color is not dry, so if you overlap a little bit, it's going to pull that black in with it, which is okay right here in this area. You can always go back with some white and lighten it up if you need to later. Okay, so basically you're just using a marbled blue and white and making some little random strokes that are somewhat in a circular pattern. Just keep alternating the white and the blue. Pick up a little bit of each one. Okay, see how that's coming together? Go over here to this side, and if you'll leave a little bit of that red peeking through, it's going to give you some separation there and keep your flowers from looking like just one big blob, which is easy to do. Picked up a little bit of green, so I'm going to wipe that off. You just basically keep doing the same thing on each flower all the way around. I need a little more white. Don't try to get too specific with what you're doing, because if you think about it too much, it makes it a lot harder to do. Just try to alternate the blue and the white. Make sure you have some dark areas and some light areas. The underside of the flower is going to be a little darker, and the top side will be a little bit lighter. I'm going to put a little more white right here. Okay, and then this one in the front, we're going to try to make it really stand out and be a good bit lighter. So I'm just picking up white for this one. It's already got some blue that I laid down at first. I'm going to turn my canvas a little bit. That'll help me get it over here. And it's going to need to come down a good bit more here because it's not exactly round like it needs to be. And this bottom part needs to be a little darker, so I'm going to get some more blue. I'm actually going to turn this upside down and make this rounded here. It makes it a lot easier to work with when you turn the canvas. Okay, I'll turn it back around. And we basically got our flowers done. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to outline the edges here of our vase. And I'm going to take a little bit of this black that I have left over, and I'm going to make it a little more detailed. Well, I need some more paint. It's not enough. Turn my knife to the side and just pull it through like this. It'll help me kind of make a drawn line there. And I'm going to come right inside and draw a line down here. See, so that leaves a little bit of the gray on the outside. And do the same over here. And I've still got a little bit of red peeking out there, which I like. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Down here. And right now, there's no table that it's sitting on or anything down here at the bottom. So I'm going to take this white and gray or silver and just pull it across. And turn my canvas sideways. I'm going to pull it across the bottom here and give it something to stand on. Then I'll have to come back and fix the bottom of my vase there. But we don't want it to be floating in midair. Okay. I think I'm going to grab a little bit of blue and put it in there too. Right, now I'm going to take some white and I'm going to define some edges just like I did with the black on the edge of this. I'm going to take my palette knife and turn it sideways, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to come back with some white too. I mean some black, sorry. I'll come back with some black too in just a few minutes. But especially some edges like this. And you have a dark background, white and bright colors are going to really show up well. That contrast is really good. I'm going to add a little more white right here. I need to wipe off my knife. You just lightly touch and pull down. I got a little green in there. That's okay. I'm gonna add some more green over here anyway. Put a little bit more of this dark metallic underneath here. Okay. I'm going to take my black and go around the edge of that leaf right there and that edge right there. And I may put a few spots just randomly in some areas here and there. Next, I'm going to take some white and go around the edges of some of these flowers just a little bit here. I'm going to put a little more red right here. I'm going to take a little bit of this mixture of the metallic silver and the white, and I'm just going to lightly scrape down in a few areas. I don't want to get too much on my palette, on my knife. Just give the background a little bit of character. And if you get too much and you don't really like it, you can just take the black and go back over those areas that you aren't happy with. So I think I got a little bit too much right there. I think I'm going to go in here again too. You can keep playing with your background, just don't overdo it. You need it to be pretty dark so that all the brightness of the flowers are going to show up. But I don't like to have just one solid color. I like for there to be a little bit of a hint of another color there. That's our painting. You can find yours. I usually use either a palette knife or a paintbrush, and put my initials over here in the corner. So you can do that if you would like to on yours. And also on the sides here that we painted black, if you would like to take a little bit of the gray and just take your palette knife and scrape down. Let me show you how that's going to look, because I like to do that on my sides also. Just start at the top and lightly pull down, and it'll give it a really neat finish on the sides too. And this is usually the last thing that I would do on my painting. I hope you enjoyed this and that you'll continue to keep trying new things and painting. Use brushes or palette knives and find ways to do things your own way. I normally use a good mixture of the two. I use my brushes some and my palette knives the majority of the time, but I do use brushes sometimes. I'm going to put my initials here, and we're going to call this one done. Thanks for painting with me today.